Hey guys, it's Penguin here, and welcome back to another goal making video. Today we're going to be talking about glyphs, including Old World ones, including ones from BFA, and basically all the expansions, and exactly how I go about making sure I make profit with them, and how I sell them. Now this video will include TSM groups for you guys to use and edit for your own sake. However, it is very important to watch this video because the groups as they are right now are not set up to be plug and play basically. Depending on your realm situation, which I will be going over all 3 different topics in this video, you will have to adjust the groups. So make sure you watch this video to find out how you need to adjust them. However, you will be getting a TSM group inside of this video. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is just what glyphs are and how you can make them and the different options you have. Now, if we look on Inscriptionist, as you can see, basically every expansion has their own glyphs. For example, here's 3 of them from BFA. Then Legion, we have a lot of them. Then going on to Draenor, I currently only have 1. Then we have a few Pandaren, Cataclysm, etc. And then you have all of the ones from Vanilla Classic WoW. So the difference between all these glyphs is basically the type of ink that they use. For example, if we click on a Legion glyph, right here, as you can see, it requires pigment, and these are the Legion pigments. As you can see, some cost 15 and 5, there's others that cost 60 and 4, and something like that. Compared to the glyphs from Vanilla, it basically requires a parchment and then 3 of a type of ink. All of them use this basic type of standard, and most of the glyphs in Old World uses that. Now, because of these completely different methods, depending on the expansion, crafting them can be a little bit interesting. Because if you do not know, in order to get these inks, there are a few ways you can do so. You can either buy them strictly off the auction house, or you can buy the pigments to actually turn into the inks. You can buy them with an ink trader, which uses Umbral ink from the latest expansion to transform into one of the older inks. Or you can buy herbs from an expansion and you can actually mill them into your own pigments, which you can create your own inks. Now, these 3 methods, depending on your server, one of these methods will be the best, and because of that, you will have to go about a different way of crafting your glyphs. So, to get started, the first thing we're going to be talking about is the ink trader. Alright, so there's multiple ink traders within the game, and they all do the same thing. Basically, you're going to find one in your major city, and you're also going to find one in Oribos. Now, in Oribos, it is in the profession wing, right next to the inscription trainer, and the ink trader inside of either Orgrimmar or Stormwind will basically be in whatever hut or house or any structure that has your actual inscriptionist trainer here. As you can see, you have your supplies, you have your trainer, and then you have your ink trader. Now, if we open up the menu, as you can see, basically it is a 1-to-1 trade unless there are a few special inks to be mindful of. As you can see, basically these are all the Old World inks, and they require 1 umbral to get 1 ink. As you can see, there are some rare ones, which isn't a pure 1-to-1 flip, but we're going to be talking about that later. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it causes vanilla glyphs and all the very Old World glyphs to be crafted and to be profitable very easily. Basically, to find the profit for all these vanilla glyphs, as long as you are selling them for more than what 3 umbral ink cost, then you will be able to make profit. For example, Lion's ink, as you can see, to craft 3 of them, all you need is 3 umbral ink. So if you can sell this for more than what that ink cost, then you will be able to make profit. Now, this is really nice because, for example, Lion's ink, once again, there is none on the auction house. Same with Shimmering ink. Actually, there is one, but the price is currently 500 gold, which is quite a lot. If we continue, basically, as you can see, most of this is priced anywhere between 200 to 400 gold per ink if you want to buy it strictly off the auction house. And that is just not viable. That is not going to make you profit when you are making these glyphs. So what I have done is created a TSM group to basically show you this. Now I'm going to Now, this is not the exact group you will be able to get because the group that you're going to get is going to have all 3 methods that you will have to edit. However, if you do want to do it this way, this is what you are going to be looking at. We have all of our glyphs separated by expansion, and if we go into operations and auctions, we have 4 different categories. Now, we have basic glyphs, which is what I just showed you, and for posting, basically your minimum price is going to be 3 times the price of your umbral ink divided by 0.95. Now, the reason for that is because the auction house takes a 5% cut. So, for example, as you can see, umbral ink goes on my server for about 50 gold. So if I were to buy 3, that's 150 gold. So if I had that without this divided number, basically the minimum price will be about 150 gold per glyph. However, that is not including that 5% cut that it's going to take. So you put that divide in there to make it bump up a little bit more to make sure you are getting that auction house cut calculated into your price. Now, because I am using this method, I use basically some pretty standard maximum and minimum prices. So, as you can see, my normal price is set to 2,500 gold, and my maximum is set to 5,000 gold. Basically, I'm not going to sell a glyph more than 5,000, and I'm not going to sell a glyph basically less than about 160 gold. Anywhere in between is basically fine and completely fine for me. So, that is how I personally calculate my basic glyphs. However, there will be other methods that we'll be talking about. So to break down exactly how much umbral ink is going to cost you, we are going to use the milling rate of Death Blossom. For example, as many of you know, you can buy ink straight off the auction house, and actually right now it's pretty cheap for me. It's about 50 gold per, which means the glyph cost is about only 150 gold, which is pretty good. However, I can definitely get this lower depending on my Death Blossom price. Now, to calculate this, basically, umbral ink has a 14.15% drop rate from Death Blossom. Now, using that calculation, if you are able to buy Death Blossom at 5 gold apiece, on average, your umbral ink will cost about 35 gold. Now, if you are able to buy it for 8 gold, on average, your umbral will cost 56 gold. If you are able to buy it at 10 gold, your umbral will cost an average of 70. If you are able to buy it at 15 gold, then your umbral will cost an average of about 106 gold. So as you can see, the sweet spot for me is about 8 gold. That is normally what Death Blossom is going for, and that means I get about 56 gold per umbral ink at that price. Now currently on my realm, that's actually a worse deal because I have my price at 50 gold. However, you have to remember that my market value is actually 65. So if we actually take that number and use 65, that 56 gold is a lot better than that 65 number. So if we want to put this into perspective, if you buy Death Blossom at 5 gold, your glyphs will cost 105 gold. If you buy it at 8 gold, then your glyphs are going to cost 168 gold. If you buy your Death Blossom at 10 gold, your glyphs are going to cost 210 gold. And finally, if you buy your Death Blossom at 15 gold, your glyph is going to cost 318 gold. So as you can see, basically anywhere between the 5 and 15 range, you're basically going to be crafting anywhere between the 100 and the 300 range for your glyphs, which is really good. Now, if you do plan to use this method, then you can turn this into a static price. For example, if your umbral ink is going for 150 gold and you don't want to use the actual price for that, and let's say you are buying your Death Blossom for that 8 gold, which means your umbral is actually costing 56 gold. That means you can actually take this number and you can write 56 right in there. Basically, that variable number of the umbral ink will turn into a static number of 56 if you are buying your Death Blossom always at 8 gold. This can help you make sure you are getting that standard price that is very relative to your server. But for the sake of this video, we are going to be putting that map price in there, so just in case you don't want to use the milling method, it just uses the price on the auction house. So in general, this is what I use for any basically basic glyph. As you can see in the details, this is Kata, Draenor, Vanilla, Outland, and Northrend glyphs. So any glyphs from those expansions, I use the basic glyphs, which is basically the ink trader from. Now we are going to be discussing the milling data and everything of the other glyphs. Now with Pandarian glyphs, these glyphs use Starlight ink, which, for example, requires 10 umbral ink. So if you are crafting one, it actually costs 30 umbral. So if you take that into account with that 50, that's going to cost you a lot more gold. That's going to cost you 1,500 gold to craft a glyph, and generally those glyphs only sell for about 500 gold, which means your profit is not good. However, if we do look at the Starlight ink, as you can see, it requires misty pigments, which basically you have to mill herbs that are native to Pandaria. So because of this, we want to go the route of actually milling, because you do not want to spend 1,500 gold strictly on this ink where you're not going to make profit. So for Pandarian glyphs, we are going to use these methods. We are going to use the 110% crafting, we're going to use the 160% crafting for normal price, and we're going to use the maximum price of 500% of DB market. Basically, that's just saying whatever the normal DB market price, multiply that by 5, and that's going to be your maximum price. Now, the reason why I do this is because crafting is going to take account of the actual milling factor of these pigments, so I am using that. That same thing goes with Legion prices, because if we look at Legion glyphs, if we hover over, as you can see, pigments, you need about 48 pigments in total. And as you can see, it is a 1-to-1 ratio. So you'll basically be using 48 umbral ink to create one of these, which is just way too much gold, when these things only sell for about 2,000 gold. So once again, we are going to be using crafting to calculate the milling cost of these. And as you can see, they are right here, these Legion glyphs. Lastly, we are also going to be doing that with BFA glyphs, so we are using that same type of crafting method. So yeah guys, after showing you these prices, I'm now going to show you an example of when to mill and when to not mill. So if we go on the auction house right now, and we look up Dreamleaf, which is the best milling herb for Legion, as you can see, it's currently at 7 gold, which is a very, very good price for me. Currently, normally on my realm, it's about 20 gold a piece, which is very expensive. So in this market, I'm actually going to buy all of this out because it's below that 15 gold threshold. Dreamleaf is very, very good, and it gets you a lot of ink, so this is actually very good for me, so I'm going to buy this out. So if we want to actually look at BFA prices for BFA milling, as you can see, River Bud is actually very cheap. As you can see right now on my server, I can buy 14,000 of it for 4 gold. Now this is super good because Crimson ink comes from the very cheap herbs, and that is what you need for BFA glyphs. So this is actually a very good buy because you're only spending 4 gold compared to actually spending a lot on the ink trader. So I would definitely buy that out. If we keep looking, Akunda's Bite is also very cheap. Star Moss is also very cheap. These are all the very cheap herbs of BFA, so this is all something I would buy. Now, as we get into the more expensive items, as you can see, it starts getting harder to find. Now, the reason, once again, why I actually use the ink trader for the classic is, as you can see, Silverleaf, Heart Blossom, all these type of old world herbs are very, very expensive. They start getting into the very expensive range, definitely for Northrend and everything like that. As you can see, we're getting pretty expensive Blindweed, we're getting very expensive Ancient Lichen, and stuff is just getting more and more expensive until we hit the top. But because of that, and since there's not a lot of it, for example, if we do one Blindweed, there's only 26 of it, which is not a lot. You're going to get 1 mil out of that, and it's not going to be worth it, definitely paying 38 gold per. Same with Sungrass, it's 50 gold per, and you're only going to get 28. Because of this, this is not a steady market that you can actually participate in, so you're going to have to use your ink trader for those items, and it's also going to save you gold in the long run and make it easier. So that is why we want to mill for Legion, Pandarian, and BFA, while we can actually use the ink trader for basically any other glyphs from any other expansions. Now lastly, of course, you can farm the herbs yourself. Let's say you want to go do an hour of Dreamleaf, you'll get about 1,000 of it, mill that, you could probably make anywhere between 5 to 10 glyphs, and there you go. Basically, you spent an hour, was able to make about, let's say 7 glyphs, and that was all for free, and everything is full profit. However, you did spend an hour farming. You can do this with basically any herb that you want, that's either too expensive on the ink trader, or it's too expensive to actually buy on the auction house, or maybe there's not enough of it. You can also go back and farming. Of course, farming will be the cheapest way to actually create these glyphs. However, it does take time. So now we're going to be going over the actual TSM group that you will be downloading and how to adjust it to your needs. So if you look, this is going to be the glyph group that you are going to be getting from the description. Just make sure all you have to do is click this import button, copy and paste it, and then hit OK. Now, if we go into operations, you will be getting basically 2 different standard glyph operations. You'll be getting your standard crafting operation, which is for anything that you mill for. And basically, it's just saying you want to have a minimum of 2, a maximum of 5, and you want 100 gold minimum profit. Then you have your basic glyphs, which is basically all the ones that you will be buying from your ink trader. And once again, it's the same profit margins, 2, 5, with a minimum profit of 100 gold. I have these separated just in case you want to make a lot more of the ink trader. You can set this to 5 and 10, and you can still keep your milling one to low, or vice versa. It's just there for you to adjust. Now, for the auctioning operations, they are going to look a little bit complicated. However, I'm going to show you how to adjust them. For example, with the basic glyphs, as you can see, you're going to have the option of either using the 110% crafting, which is basically going to be for milling, etc., or you can use the standard price for using the ink trader, which is the Umbral ink. So let's say you want to use the crafting price, then you basically are just going to erase all of that, and then you're going to erase all this. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to adjust this, but you basically delete that and just leave the crafting. If you want to use the matte price, then you just delete everything before the 3, and then you delete everything back here, and there you go. You have just the matte price. So basically, this is just giving you the options. Of course, you can also leave it like this. Basically, you'll just choose the minimum price of it. However, it is completely up to you. As you can see, that is also for the maximum and the normal. You could either consistently use the crafting price, or you can set it to your standard gold number. So if you want to use it just like I do on my personal profile, then you can erase everything before the 5,000 and erase that parenthesis. Same thing over here. Or let's say you want to use the crafting, erase everything like that, and erase the minimum before them. So that is how you are going to adjust these glyphs. Now, if we take a look at the panda glyphs, they are basically going to look the same way. However, they have that 30 in there instead of that 3. If you don't remember, that Starlight ink, it's going to cost 30 Umbral because it's 10 per ink, so that is why it's there. Of course, you can use that option if you want. However, I would highly suggest not to. So, of course, I would recommend deleting everything besides the crafting. However, you can adjust it to however you want. This same thing goes for Legion. I actually already have it set to milling because you're not going to find profit with the Umbral ink trader, so that is why I have it set to crafting. However, if you do want to use the ink trader, you can just copy it from basic glyphs, just copy this matte price. And lastly, with BFA, I also have it set to that milling data because, once again, I believe milling will be the best for BFA. Of course, if you want to change it, you can just copy it from your basic glyphs. And on the last note, all of these different auctioning operations include 24-hour posting with a post cap of 2. I only like to keep 2 glyphs on the auction house at once because I think that's plenty for my server. Of course, you can adjust this to your needs. So yeah, guys, I hope that makes a little bit more sense on what this TSM group is for and how to actually show you how to edit it to make it fit your needs. Now I'm going to show you me actually crafting and using this in TSM. So we are switched back to my personal profile, which is set with the parameters that I showed you before, and now we're going to open up Inscription. Once you are there, you're going to hit TSM groups, and you're going to make sure that your glyphs are selected, and you can deselect your base group. So you can either select it just like this, and it should highlight it all, or let's say you only want vanilla glyphs, example, etc. You could just click on that and click whatever ones you want. After that, you just hit restock groups. As you can see, since I don't have a lot of these crafted, I'm mostly going to be crafting 5 because that's what we have set on our crafting parameters. However, as you can see, I do have 3 of these, etc. So some of them only have 4 or 2 compared to that 5. But it's going to cost 76,000 gold as an investment, and I'm going to be making about a 40k profit. Now, the confusing thing about this is the gathering page. Now, TSM has a hard time basically remembering that there is an Umbral ink trader, and because of that, it's going to say a bunch of stuff like this. For example, it's going to say that you want to craft this ink, that you want to craft all this stuff, but you need to know what's best for you. For example, violet pigment right now is 2,000 gold, and they're telling you to buy 56 of it, or 54 of it off the auction house. That's just not going to work. If we look that up, sorry, close that. If we look that up, that's just not going to work, and so that means you need to actually get the ink yourself. So what I would do is, if we look to, we need about 60 crimson ink, and we need about 26 ultramarine ink. I know that is from BFA, so I'm going to buy some riverbud, and I'm going to maybe buy 1,000 of it. That cost about 4,000 gold. I know I'm going to mill that and turn that into this pigment and into this ink. Next thing I know is that roseate pigment, as well as the sallow pigment, is from Legion. So if I didn't before, I would look up Dreamleaf and buy it, but I did buy it previously, so I'm going to use whatever I bought to mill it out to create this. Of course, you can also just buy the pigment off the auction house. However, there's not many, and you need a lot of it. It's telling me that I need 1,000 of it. Now, another option to remember is that Dreamleaf is really good because it gives you sallow pigment as well as roseate pigment. However, as you can see, I need 1,000 roseate pigment, which is a lot, and that's going to be very expensive for Dreamleaf. Because of that, the other option you have is Shadowlands seeds, which is actually telling you what to do. So they actually want you to buy these seeds and just mill these seeds yourself. As you can see, it's asking for 5,000 of them, and there's only about 500 on the auction house, so definitely it doesn't always work out. You're not always going to be able to craft everything. That is why sometimes you have to resort to farming. Lastly, all these shimmering ink, Lion's Ink, Jade Fire, stuff like that, you are going to go into your ink trader with whatever Umbral ink that you have created, and you're just going to buy it from here. I currently only have 1 Umbral ink, so I can only go in here and, for example, I'll buy 1 shimmering ink right there. So that is basically how I go about crafting my glyphs. I know what pigments and what inks that I need from every expansion, and then I just go in, buy it all from the ink trader, whatever I need, and then I mill the rest of this. Of course, if you're a beginner, it's going to be slightly more confusing because you'll be having to learn the ways of actually how to craft stuff, but trust me, it gets easier the more you figure it out and everything like that. But once we are finished and have everything gathered, basically you just hit craft next, and it will start crafting the glyphs. I can only make a few of them because of how much ink I have, but there we go. As you can see, I just crafted a few of these, and I'm already going to make 8k if I could just sell these Inquisitor's Eye, and I'm also going to be able to sell this for about 900 gold, and this gift from the heavens was a vanilla glyph, which means I only spent about 150 gold with that Umbral ink, and I'm going to be able to sell this for 900, which is very, very good profit. Lastly, you'll be able to go on the auction house, select the glyphs, and hit post. For example, all of these are in range, so you're just going to undercut them, and there you go, they're all posted. Since we have that posting max of 2, as you can see, it took 2 out of the 5 that were in my inventory, leaving me with 3. So yeah guys, that's basically it. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and if you need any troubleshooting with the TSM groups, or you need help adjusting it to your realm, make sure you join the Discord down below. There will be plenty of people to help you, including myself personally. So I really hope this video helps. It kind of understands how you can craft glyphs and gives you a TSM group to help you go about it. I know this is a little bit more complicated than just plugging in, hitting restock, and just doing all of that. However, I really think this is a good way to make gold. You just have to experiment and find what works best for you. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you didn't enjoy about it, if so. And make sure to check out my Twitch because I am live streaming 4 days a week now. We are live streaming Sunday through Tuesday, as well as Friday from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So definitely come check us out if you want to do that. We basically just doing group farms, gold making and restocking, and answering any questions that you have. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.